How's it going, everyone? Paul with Adaptable Survival. What I want to do in today's episode is talk about the Ontario TAC 2. Stick with me as we dive into it. So we are taking a look at the Ontario TAC 2. To start off, just to kind of look at the sheath. This nice leather sheath. Now, this isn't the best sheath in the entire world, but it is definitely an upgrade compared to some of the other offerings from Ontario Knife. I haven't had any issues with my knife coming out of here. It has a nice clip here, so it'll keep in place. So when we look at the Ontario TAC 2, this is an update on their TAC 1. I have no experience with that knife, so I'm not going to speak on to the differences between the two in this video since I never used that TAC 1. But the TAC 2, what drew me to picking one of these up, I actually picked this up from Smoky Mountain Knife Works when I was in the Smoky Mountains in April. For the last year and a half, I have been doing research on designing my own knife, looking at different profiles, grinds, stuff like that. And this profile I found to be kind of my favorite. So once this winter I have my own custom knife made, I will bring that to the channel and my social media. But we're looking at the Ontario TAC 2 here. Overall length is 9.9 inches with a 4.2 inch blade. It is made out of a 1075 high carbon steel, so nice and reliable, easy to sharpen, keep it maintained. Now, if we look, let me get this focused in here. We look at the coating on the blade itself. You have a black phosphate coating. So that's going to help with corrosion, avoiding any kind of rust, stuff like that. I still will oil this up a little bit from time to time, but honestly, I haven't done that a whole lot on this one. You have hardwood scales. So let me get up close here with these. These are really nice and comfortable. I haven't had any issues with the scales. You have some torque screws holding those scales in place. A little lanyard hold at the end if you want to put a lanyard on it. If you're fancy like that, a little bit, you can choke up on the blade a little bit. So I just have some cherry that recently blew down in a storm, so I just cut off a chunk for everyone's favorite, batoning. As I've told you all before, I don't necessarily baton a ton, but having the ability in a knife to do that is always something to keep in mind. And as we see, even with this harder cherry here, it split through it like it was nothing. And if I come in here, as y'all know, a little being all bushcrafty, or I don't. But I can get all fancy, make some feather sticks. You know, gotta look good for the gram. You know, this thing carves really nice for being a thicker blade. So speaking of blade thickness, this is about a 3/16 thick blade, which I've had mixed feelings on. We'll cover that in a second here. But as you see, this carves really nice for me. Now obviously there's other knives out there that do a lot better job, but for my needs, this one has been a sweet spot. So a little more on the Ontario TAC 2. Like I said, I picked this up back in April and I've been using it off and on with a couple other different blades, and I've liked it a lot. With this black phosphate finish, as you can see, you know, as you use it, it's going to leave some wear on there. At first that kind of bothered me, but after a while I'm just like, whatever. It's on there. It gives it kind of a nice worn look. Blade thickness wise, like I said, is 3/16. For me, I like to keep my blade thickness kind of medium. I don't like having a big chunky blade. When I'm using it, it just feels a little bit more cumbersome, like I'm having to work a little bit more to use the knife. This is a full tapered flat grind. Now for me, a flat grind is perfect. It just feels the most comfortable for me when I'm using a blade. I do have a couple other knives that I'm trying out that have convex grinds, since I don't have a ton of experience with convex grind knives. But I've used tons of Scandi grinds, and it's good, but for me personally, it's not my favorite grind. Other than that, I know some people have experienced burrs on the handle scales. I haven't had that. I know with Ontario knife, sometimes their fit and finish isn't quite ideal. I mean, they're not a top level knife company. I mean, they're really good, budget friendly, entry level kind of blades. But I will mention, and hopefully this picks it up in the camera here, if you look right where the scale meets up with the blade, there's a little bit of a lip. Now that doesn't cause any kind of hot spots or anything for me. So that's just something to be aware of when you are picking one of these up. But overall, I've really, really liked it. There are some things you want to watch out for if you do pick one up. Now, I picked this one up from Smoky Mountain Knife Works back in April for $73. It's still listed for that price on their site, but they're out of stock. I did see one other site that I was offering it for $73. Generally, though, I think Amazon and a couple other retailers offer it for about $90. So that's kind of the price point you're looking at. And for that price point, I really do like this knife. This is honestly probably one of the favorite knives that I've ever used, since it's not too chunky, but it's still nice, strong, and durable. Really reminiscent of that survival knife look. For me, like I said, blade length-wise is almost perfect for me. I may have preferred this a tad bit longer, so when I do make my own custom knife, I will incorporate a lot of features from this blade into that. In the comment section down below, let me know what blades you've been using recently. As y'all know, I always like to check out what you're using so I could kind of see what I like, and maybe it's something I want to pick up and bring to the channel. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That gets more eyes on the channel, helps bring more people into the community we're building, helps us grow our knowledge base so we can learn together and grow together. As always, this has been Paul with Adaptable Survival. Adapt your mind, your body, and your gear.